enjoy our time here. So obviously there's rules here as set in place by city council and things like that, respect for the citizens, respect for the city council as well. So there will be no outbursts, there is no Q&A questioning back and forth. You know, if you have the allotted time, the 3 minutes, you're more than welcome to, you know, place your pleasures, your grievances or whatever, but they will not be able to respond back, okay? Whatever differences that y'all may have, obviously keep those to yourself. Obviously, we also have people that are going for counsel as well, so you will want the same respect, okay? Like I said, it goes both ways, all right, before we adjourn. I appreciate it. Thank you.
First one? A couple of weeks, not too long ago.
Does it have enough grease in it?
I'll make sure.
I just, because the other night it.
Let's see what kind they take. Should we go get some just in case? No, it shows full battery. It shows a full battery.
Oh, okay.
One of them's happy you let the other one do everything, and the other one's happy you do it. So.
But he is not a social being, so he really expects the birthday party, and there's all the kids and other parents and adults that he doesn't know. Well, it would be nice for his nephew. Come on, you know your brother.
Yeah, he just, so that they just, and I tell them, you're not going to change the other one. They say, I don't want to change them. I just don't understand how she, because, you know, one daughter, she, you know, I mean,
They don't get stuff.
you can't change. It's just the way people are. No, I know.
It's crazy.
We're going to call the meeting to order. Notice is hereby given that a regular meeting of the City Council of the City of Sandy Oaks, Texas will be held on Thursday, September 26th at 6:30 p.m. at Sandy Oaks City Hall, located at 4451 Hickory Haven, Sandy Oaks, Texas 78112, for the purpose of considering the following agenda items. All items are subject to action. Ms. Yelton, can we get a quorum call, please?
Yeah, Alderman Walker? Here. Alderman Rapino?
Here.
Alderman Tomasini?
Here.
Alderman Tremblay?
Here.
Alderman Garcia is absent. You do have a quorum.
Stand for Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item 3 on the agenda are mayor's announcements, and the first one has to do with the census. As everyone's aware, the census is happening next year. We did have Richard Castanon come out and talk with us a few months back about this, and we are a little behind the 8 ball in getting our committee together. So I wanted to first ask if there was anyone on council who wanted to lead the committee, and second to request anyone from the community who would like to be on the committee to work through getting all the information together for the citizens. I'll read you a short paragraph from Richard that says, "The committee should be as inclusive as possible to represent the different population characteristics of Sandy Oaks. Once in the committee members will assist with putting together a citywide awareness campaign about the upcoming 2020 census and how it will be done, because this time it will be done differently. And we only have until November 30th to get them trained, so the sooner we can get this together, the better. Members can be appointed by myself, or I can delegate to council members for them to choose 2 members each. So just wanted to make that announcement that at our next meeting, we will accept nominations for the committee, and if there's anybody that's interested in working on those committees, to let us know. Item B, For the first time ever, Sandy Oaks registered voters will be able to vote at Sandy Oaks City Hall on Election Day, November 5th, 2019, when a general and special election will be held for the following council positions: Alderman Place 1, Alderman Place 3, Alderman Place 4, that is an unexpired term, and Alderman Place 5. Registered voters can take advantage of voting early at Freedom Elementary or other designated locations starting October 21st through November 1st. Check the Elections Office website for all designated locations. Item 4 on the agenda, citizens to be heard. Please note that the Texas Open Meetings Act prohibits the City Council from responding, commenting, or discussing items or topics during this portion of the meeting that are not included on the agenda. The City Council appreciates hearing from the citizens, and your thoughts and questions are valued. However, civility and a sense of decorum will be strictly followed. All speakers must address their comments to City Council. Speakers shall refrain from public criticism of members of the City Council that are prohibited by law. This item will be open for up to 30 minutes, with 3 minutes to each speaker. One person may speak on behalf of a group. Up to 3 persons may register on behalf of the group in order for the spokesperson to be allotted up to 9 minutes to speak. If there are more than 10 speakers, each will be given 2 minutes or 6 minutes for a group spokesperson. The first person up is A.G. San Miguel.
My name is Robert San Miguel. I've been a resident.
Sir, could you address the council, please?
I've been a resident of this area, which was Waterwood, now Sandy Oaks, for 21 plus years. And what I came to comment about was a few weeks ago, I asked why there was not a Texas flag here, and I was told that the American flag was donated by someone, and if I wished to donate a Texas flag, I felt that to me was a slap in the face. The following week, somebody else donated a flag, and the comment made was, "We have a Texas flag. I hope you enjoy it." The Texas flag is not something that someone is to enjoy. It's not a carnival ride or a toy. It is a symbol of patriotism, just like the American flag. Thousands died in this state to make it an independent country of its own from Mexico.
I agree.
And to me, that was another slap in the face. Then, before I came in that door, the sheet that snatched, before I had a chance to sign it, that I could make my comment. If it weren't for someone else in the audience that yelled out, "Let him sign it," I would have not had the right to speak. To me, that's in violation of the amendments in the Constitution of the United States, the Freedom of Act. I was being denied that. If it's not for another person yelling, "Let me sign it," I wouldn't have had a chance to even speak. This is the way this city is being ran? No. The Constitution of the United States says the first 3 words in the Constitution is "we the people," and that's the way I see it, we the people. I thank you for listening to me.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Conrad Alvarado.
No, I was just gonna give him my time, but I passed him.
Okay, thank you. Item 5, consent agenda. All matters listed under consent agenda are considered routine by the City Council of the City of Sandy Oaks and will be enacted by one motion. There will not be a separate discussion of these items. If discussion is desired, that item will be removed from the consent agenda and will be considered separately. The first item is approve the minutes from the September 12th regular City Council meeting. And the second is approval resolution naming a public newspaper to serve as the official newspaper of the city for fiscal year 2019-2020.
I'll move that, I move that we accept the consent agenda. Consent.
I'll second it.
We have a motion by Alderman Rapino to approve the consent agenda as presented and a second by Alderman Thomasini. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Item 6A, discuss and or possible action on responses to RFQ for audit services. So we received three responses. Pass that to Kathleen, please. We did receive 3 responses, and the best I can tell, we have 1 representative here. And we have Deborah Frazier here, so if you, what is the rest of it? Just the 2-page?
No.
That's what I thought, it was much more than that.
That's all I have too.
Yeah.
I think that's all that printed. I can check again.
There might be confusion because you asked for an RFQ, so we sent our qualifications.
And then I asked
and
for the pricing.
client list, and then you asked for a cost estimate.
Yes,
Typically,
and I think
RFQ.
that's what we just have here is the cost estimate. on
Oh, that's
this.
what you sent me, yeah.
Well, there was another piece that I probably
Oh.
did not include in that. So, in having a discussion with a couple of these, and Deborah, I don't know that I had this discussion with you, there was talk about kind of getting us back up on track where we need to be, which would involve getting actually 2 audits done. We need to get the first one done for the 17 through 18, and then right after that, do the one for 18 through 19. That's going to finish this month. And the only challenge I have with that is we did not budget it that way. I think we just budgeted for 1 year. But I don't think that's an issue. It will take a while to get the first one done. And there was a very small advantage price-wise to having 2 of them budgeted at the same time. And I think some of the concern, and Deborah, help me if I'm misstating, it had to do with consistency, meaning we choose an auditor, we stay with the auditor for a few years. It's more costly for the auditor to perform the audit just for 1 year, and then, yeah, so. And I think we've had our last auditor in place for 3 years, if I'm not mistaken. So have each of you had an opportunity to look over what was presented?
I have.
So this, from your company, ma'am, this is just for the 718 audits.
But I actually didn't realize you were going out for 2. I don't.
No, we
discussed
weren't going out for
it.
2, but
Okay.
that was the response that I got from a couple
Oh,
of
okay.
them. And I told them at that time I had not considered that as an option. But it's certainly something we could consider.
But I know you don't have my, I guess, our letter and references, but we've been in business for over 40 years. I've been with the company for 30 years. I'm a current shareholder, a managing partner. We specialize in small cities, and we audit around about 29 around the city in South Texas, in that area. We feel like we are a really good fit for small cities because We audit many small cities, and we can kind of provide a little hand-holding on getting your internal controls improved and other things that we've seen, and we usually return calls within 24 hours.
You are also local.
We are local,
Yeah.
and we're a member of the Government Audit Quality Control Center, and we also do, I don't know if you've heard of the CAFR, but we do review audits for comprehensive annual financial certification for some of our cities, and if you had the references, you would see which cities had received it, but we also review it on behalf of the Government Audit Quality Control Center, so.
Would we get a breakdown on your hours? So I see you have this is a maximum price. You're saying a maximum price. I just see a pretty significant difference in the bids that I'm looking at. So, I would just, most others are pretty much saying, here's our bid. You're saying this is a maximum price. I'm just,
Yes, like I said before, typically in a request for qualifications, we just send in our information about the staff and our company and references. And when Mayor Ball called me back, she said you didn't include any prices, and I think the bid was due that day or relatively shortly.
That day or the next day, yeah.
Yeah, so I said I will send you a cost estimate, but I can send you a breakdown for that.
yes, I'm looking at the breakdown as far as your hours. I'm just wondering if at our final billing, will we see a breakdown? Whereas if you don't spend this amount of time, because I think we pretty much have compiled all of our data, it should be pretty ready to go as far as what you require based on our past history. I think we're keeping pretty good records up to this point. So I don't know that you would need to spend, your staff would need to spend 30 hours compiling the data along with, another 25 for your manager and 15 for your partners. I just don't know. At what point do we need to make a decision, Mayor?
Well, we certainly want to get started on the previous year's audit. I don't know that we need to make a decision this evening.
I appreciate you coming out.
I-
You're the only one that showed up,
Yeah.
and
And
I
certainly if
appreciate
it
that.
costs us less to do it, we would spend less or bill you less, but kind of stab in the dark without,
Right, it just, my eyebrows are raised because like I say, there's a significant difference in the bids that I'm looking at.
and we're typically not the cheapest in town, I will tell you that.
Right. If there's no other discussion from anyone else, I'd like to table this to the next meeting.
And I feel it would be advantageous for the rest of your package to be considered by the council as
Right,
well. So.
and I would not want to put up what the other bids are either.
Oh,
but
absolutely.
I'm just saying that there's a significant, there's a difference.
Right.
So I would move that we table it until our until our next meeting. Make a decision.
Okay.
And again, thank you.
We're going to postpone it.
Yes.
If you want to reconsider.
Yeah, okay, I move to postpone this item to the next meeting.
I'll second it.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for coming out, Ms. Frazier. Okay, we have a motion by Alderman Tremblay and a second by Alderman Rapino to postpone till our next regular meeting. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right.
Opposed? Okay, the motion carries. Item 6B, discuss under possible action on responses to RFQ for interim city administrator. I got 3 people who were interested. One of them, after I had spoken with them, rescinded. They decided they didn't want to do that. They did make a very interesting counter offer, which was to work pro bono. They're recently retired, and they weren't sure if they were going to like retirement, but they decided they do. So they would be willing to work pro bono with us to basically groom somebody for the position. The other person I could not reach. Then after I had already engaged in a deeper conversation with another candidate, they did reach out, but we never did talk in depth about any of their qualifications or anything, which in a way worked out to our advantage, because the candidate that we are considering this evening is very well known in the area, very well respected, very knowledgeable. I'd like to introduce Mr. Lewis Fox. He has actually taught the Certified Public Manager courses. He has been the city manager for San Antonio, as well as a number of other cities around Texas. If you mention his name to any other municipality, they go, "Oh yeah, we know Lou." I mentioned your name yesterday, and they all know who you were. Who is the gentleman who is the gentleman who's now the city manager at San Antonio?
Eric Walsh.
Yes, speaks very highly of you, by the way.
He was one of my students.
Yes, he was. So, Mr. Fox has agreed to work on an interim basis as a contractor for the first 90 days. It'll be kind of like a trial run to see if we like each other. And then if it works out, then we may extend that to a non-contracted position. And so at this time, I mean, if anyone has any questions, would you like to stand up and say something to everybody, address the council?
Well, thank you for considering me for the interim position. As the mayor said, I've served numerous cities and also universities as a, hopefully, one that would grow people in our business in government. I spent my whole life almost in local government. My dad worked for the city of St. Louis when I was a kid, and he's the one that got me interested in government. And when he talked to me about management, I asked him, what do I need to know? He said, just two things. I said, oh, that's simple. People and money. And I think that, quite frankly, most of the time. I've had a chance to ride with the marshal, took me around town today, and we had a chance to look at issues that are coming around. We talked somewhat about the bond issue that's being considered. I thought that your infrastructure was in good shape, and you're keeping that, I think, efficient, if you will. There are a lot of other issues in town that you're all aware of, but I think it's all doable. Improve, if you will, or bring more quality of life to the community. Not that it's not high quality, it's just that when you go into a growth mode, you have to look down the road. I noticed that you're working on a master plan, and there are other issues that are going on that I think are, I talked to the marshal about adding to the law enforcement side, and also thinking about what we need to do down the road. So I can't make any recommendations at this point, but I do appreciate Mayor, you and the City Council to consider working with me and me working with you. And I think it's an exciting opportunity.
Thank you.
Did I mess up?
No, not yet. The evening's still young. Did anyone have any questions for Mr. Fox?
So we supposed to decide?
Yes, so here's my notes that
I
I'll
move that we accept Mr. Fox as the interim city manager or administrator on a contractual basis for 90 days, and then possibly as a non-contract paid employee.
Okay, so we have a motion by Alderman Rapino to accept the nomination for Mr. Lou Fox to be the interim city administrator. Do we have a second?
I second.
Alderman Walker seconds. All in favor say aye.
All?
Aye.
Aye.
Oh.
All?
All opposed? The motion carries. And don't wander off, because we have something special that comes up next. So the compensation is the same as what we had been paying the previous city administrator. Okay, so Lou, if you don't mind, after the meeting, we'll do the swearing in. Item 6C, discuss and or possible action on amending ordinance 2016-55, establishing regulations for prohibiting litter and to provide for abatement, declaring littering a public nuisance, declaring junked vehicles a public nuisance, and providing for abatement and penalties. This is brought by Alderman Tremblay and Rapino.
Okay, so I've been actually working with the marshal trying to identify some of the ordinance violations as far as structures, and then in touring the city or driving around the city, looking at some of these properties. There are numerous properties with numerous junk vehicles that are visible driving through the neighborhoods. And just so everyone knows that it's out of sight, it's out of mind. We're not looking for vehicles that are parked under carports, that are blocked by fences, in garages, behind homes, what have you. These are vehicles that are in plain sight, that are not registered, don't have current registration tags, or otherwise may not have wheels on them, may just be automobile parts, what have you. So that's what this amendment addresses. So if everyone would like, I'll go through on the red line portion, and if there's any question, we can address them at that time. So beginning at the top, second paragraph, whereas the city council finds littering and improper solid waste disposal, including junk vehicles, pose health and sanitation risks to the citizens of the city. And stop me at any point if you have a question or you want to change something. Next paragraph, the city council finds that littering and improper solid waste disposal, including junk vehicles, constitute public nuisance. We'll drop down 2 paragraphs. Whereas pursuant to Chapter 365 of the Texas Health and Safety Code, the city as a political subdivision of the state of Texas is committed to enforcement of littering laws under the Texas Litter Abatement Act. And whereas Chapter 683 of the Texas Transportation Code and Chapters 341 and 342 of the Texas Health and Safety Code authorize a municipality to adopt procedures for the abatement of nuisances and the abatement and removal of a junk vehicle from private or public property. And whereas the City Council finds it is necessary and proper for the good government, peace, and order of the city to adopt an ordinance prohibiting littering and improper solid waste disposal, including junk vehicles, and providing for procedures for disposal of solid waste, including junk vehicles. Whereas the City Council adopted ordinance number 5542 to regulate and providing for abatement procedures, and desires to amend ordinance number 2016-5542 declared junk vehicles a public nuisance and provide for abatement procedures.
So before we go forward, up here, one of the paragraphs was to be struck from the first whereas here and where the buttons are.
I think you read it, but that was...
Yes, correct.
That- yeah,
The
that
part
one's to
where it
be-
says whereas chapter 683. correct, that's
365.
365.
That's to be struck.
It does have strike
That's
through.
correct, yeah, it's got a line.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not being included.
So section 1, findings. Findings set out here in our file to be true and correct and are hereby adopted by the city council and made part of the ordinance for all purposes. This is section 2. Definitions. A, abate means to eliminate a nuisance by removal, repair, rehabilitation, or demolition. B, antique vehicle means a passenger car or truck that is at least 25 years old. The next paragraph, strike shall after garbage and add a S to means. Next paragraph will be D.
Okay.
Then we jump to E. Junk vehicle means a vehicle as defined by section 683.071 of the Texas Transportation Code that may be self-propelled and meets any of the conditions described below for 30 consecutive days if on private property, or 72 hours if on public property, and does not have lawfully attached to it 1, an unexpired license plate, or 2, a valid motor vehicle inspection certificate, or 3, is wrecked, dismantled, or partially dismantled, or discarded, or 4, is otherwise inoperable. Then F is the following paragraph, remains the same. Then G, this is added. Motor vehicle collector means a person who owns one or more antique or special interest vehicles and acquires, collects, or disposes of an antique or special interest vehicle or part of an antique or special interest vehicle for personal use to restore or preserve an antique or special interest vehicle for historic interest. Next paragraph is H, which is person, defines person. I is refuse. I is rubbish.
J.
That's-
It's a J.
I, J.
Yes.
From seeing that. And then a K is an addition. Special interest vehicle means a motor vehicle of any age that has not been changed from original manufacturer specifications and because of its historic interest is being preserved by a hobbyist. And you have L is the trash, means the same as garbage. M is waste. Section 3, accumulation of litter, trash, refuse, garbage, rubbish, waste, or junk. Then you have A, accumulation of garbage, trash, weeds, brush, rubbish, or you have littering is prohibited. Under section 3B, declaration of a nuisance, trash, refuse, garbage, rubbish, waste, or junk accumulated or is added. Section 4 is abatement. Number 1 is the state remains the same.
Yeah, I think we can just say
Can-
the paragraphs are just being renumbered.
Okay. Yeah, 'cause we're going to get into a long one here.
Right.
Has everyone read it already?
So the paragraphs under section 4 under the abatement, you have 1, A, B, C. Then you have 2, 3, 4, and 5. Section 4 is the abatement and removal of junk vehicles. Has everyone had a chance to read this? This is like 2 pages. I won't read it if you've all read it and you have no questions about it.
I have a question, just for clarification. The junked cars definition, there's many times in my life a vehicle has met that on my property. What distinguishing, how are we going to distinguish that for, say, the father who's teaching his teenager how to build a car?
Yeah, I think it's defined if you're a hobbyist and you're working on the vehicle. I think we covered that already.
We can fit that into the hobbyist section rather than the,
Rather than antique collector. Exactly. if you're a
Or
hobbyist.
rather than
Special
junked
interest.
cars, because we
Yes,
bought
and-
junk cars and worked on them.
And again, what we need to think about is out of sight, out of mind. If it's
Right.
not visible, it's not an
Yes.
issue with the city.
And I get the intention totally. I just had a question regarding that.
Right, but you can't, I mean, we don't want it put in your front yard and you say you're working on it and
No.
it's there for 2 years, a year,
Right.
whatever. If you're working on the vehicle, you're a hobbyist, it should be under a carport and a garage behind
Okay.
your residence, not in front of your residence on the front yard.
That's all I wanted you to verbalize.
But it is addressed in the ordinance. So I'll move on to,
So you could put this in here. We should have the inspections.
I'll move on to the offense and penalty under section 8. Under section 8, you put offense penalty. This is added for the, an offense under the ordinance is a class C misdemeanor. Any person, firm, or corporation who violates, disobeys, omits, neglects, or refuses to comply with or who resists the enforcement of any of the provisions of this ordinance shall be deemed guilty of an offense and shall be liable for a fine not to exceed the sum of $500 unless specifically stated herein. Upon finding that the violation constitutes a danger to public health and sanitation other than the dumping of refuse, such fine shall not be no less than $500 and shall not exceed $2,000.
Is it
It's exceed
two or four?
4,
Two.
Okay.
4,000.
So that one's 2,000 and 4,000.
2,000, 4,000.
I do have a question on, if you go back to section 4B,
For,
it talks about an offense under this section is a misdemeanor punishable by a fine not to exceed $200. But we have a different number over here on section
that
8.
should read 2,000.
So that's why it says, unless specifically stated here, and that amount is what's under the Texas Transportation Code.
Okay.
So if it's any other ordinance violate, or any other section that's violated, then the other penalty provision
Okay.
applies.
Okay, so back to, unless otherwise specifically stated here, and upon finding that a violation constitutes a dumping of refuse, such fine shall be no less than $500 and shall not exceed $4,000 unless otherwise specifically stated herein. Those are the changes for the amendment.
So this could apply to a vacant lot that is potentially hazardous, that the city would have, I mean, we'd go through all the proper notifications.
If there's a vehicle on a vacant lot, then yes.
Well, but I'm not talking just about vacant,
Well,
or about
it's-
vehicles.
Vehicles, trash, garbage is all included in this
Okay.
ordinance, yes.
We're just adding vehicles to it.
Great.
So I guess I move that we accept the edits or the changes to ordinance, is it 21655?
Correct.
The amendments to it. And what would the new ordinance be called? 219?
What would the,
2019,
148?
148.
219,
148.
148.
148. Yeah. So I move that we accept the amendments to 21655 and as discussed.
The new ordinance is 2019 for it.
2019.
Yeah,
148.
148.
I can't hear it.
148.
148, okay. I forgot my hearing aids today, I'm sorry.
So we have,
148.
okay.
I'll second that motion.
So we have a motion by Alderman Rapino and a second by Alderman Tremblay to accept the amended ordinance, previously 2016-55, now amended as 2019-148. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, the motion carries. Catherine is, oh, it's still draft. Oh, thank you. Okay, item 6D is discuss and or possible action on a car donated by Dr. Hill. So, you should each have some pictures here.
I think I just printed one.
Okay, a picture.
A-
So Dr. Hill is from Oak Hills Animal Hospital, and he requested a meeting a couple weeks ago, and so I went up and visited with him. He has a vehicle he would like to donate to the city to support our animal control program, and the intent from that would be to accept the vehicle and then declare it as a surplus to be disposed of in a manner that the council decides is appropriate, whether that be an auction or a bid process along those lines. And the vehicle is it is Jubilee edition of a 1929 Gazelle, which is basically a kit car. It is built on a 1979 Mustang, and everyone should have a picture of this. I'll show those of you out in the audience what it looks like.
Marshall to ride around it.
Yes. Dr. Hill indicated that it has about 60 miles on it. Since it was rebuilt in 1979, it's basically just been used for parades. So what needs to happen here tonight is the council needs to decide if they want to accept this so that we can notify Dr. Hill that we would be moving forward with this. If we do choose to do that, I have been in contact with Rich Hovey of Hovey Motor Cars out of Bernie, who does appraisals. So we would need to have an appraisal done on this vehicle for tax purposes for the donor as well as for the city. The price to do that is $300. So the expectation, I don't know what the price would be. I've been given estimates of anywhere from $10,000 to $15,000 is the amount of money we could sell this vehicle for, depending on which method we go with. So to take $300 and turn it into something beneficial for our animal control program is what we're presenting this evening.
Yeah, I did see the vehicle in person. It's a sharp vehicle. It's very nice. I did speak with Dr. Hill. He mentioned that his son has a friend who does appraisals. He appraises trucks actually, and we could ask his son's, see if we can get his friend to do the appraisal.
Okay.
And yeah, I guess we need to probably think about I don't know if we're going to go out and spend $300, if we don't have to spend $300 for the appraisal, we'll probably have to store this vehicle somewhere.
Exactly.
I don't think leaving it out here in the yard, or it needs to be put in a garage somewhere. So that's a cost that we'll incur. But surely we can make some money on this. Maybe it's a donation. All he asks is that we give him some type of proof that we either appraise it or we wait until we sell it and give him some type of a proof of value.
Exactly.
So that he can get credit for it.
So if you don't mind, I'm going to ask Lou to chime in on this conversation. Do you have experience in how this may work? Excuse me, sir. Do you have experience in how this works and what we might need to consider? A donation and then declaring surplus and ultimate disposal?
I think that's a legal issue.
Yeah, that was going to refer to what's legal. Can we raffle it?
The well, we have to determine what the fair market value is to sell the car, so we can accept the donation just as a general power of the city to hold property. There are certain statutes that allow for specific items that the city can receive for donations and what they can sell it for, but there's also a general authorization. So in my conversations with the mayor is that once we get a appraised value of it and have a fair market value, it either goes, sometimes that's hard to determine on this type of vehicle. Sometimes an auction may be the way that determines the fair market value, but to have some appraisal and either auction it or take bids on the price to sell it. for the
So,
city.
one of the challenges with the raffle is, it's a very labor-intensive effort to make that happen. In a bid process, I don't know, would we be able to set a reserve if we needed to? Or do we just, it's a one shot that we get
For the,
if we wanted to go through the bid process?
well, what-
An auction, sorry.
like a reserve for what
The value is.
I don't think you need it, I think you can, but I don't think it's required that you do a reserve.
Okay. So, what do you guys think?
Yeah. I don't see why not.
So I was thinking, I haven't had the conversation with Dr. Hill on the other option for getting an appraisal done. I don't know what that would cost, so we might want to set a not to exceed number. And then we would have to figure out where are we going to store it.
Oh, I'll take control.
Right, that's, so I'm thinking, so legally we can, there's some way we can dispose of the vehicle one way or another as declaring it excess, so that we're not getting into something that we can't get rid of. Legally, we can, one way or another, we can auction it,
Yes,
or we can sell it outright. We can do it on a bid
like
type
a
or
bid
just,
type of.
okay, as long as there's a legal way we can do it.
I wouldn't, you can't have one person in mind to directly sell it to, so that it would need
Right.
to be a bid or an
Right.
auction, give everybody the opportunity.
You can make a minimum bid too, right? You can't.
Starting bid.
Well, that would be like a reserve, yeah.
Yeah.
Great. And what would we be looking at, let's say if we estimated it would take us 3 months to move the vehicle, what is the typical storage fee that we would pay to put it somewhere?
Will he keep it where it is? Will he?
No.
No, he needs to get
He
it
needs
out.
to
He's
move
got
it.
it in his,
In the
an
hog
entrance
stall.
to his horse barn, so,
Yeah.
you know, he needs to go. It's covered now, but,
I could check next week the prices for they got that storage unit up at by the lake, by
At,
Brawning. I don't know if they
Brawning.
have areas to store a vehicle,
That's not
large
very
enough.
secure though, is it?
I don't know how secure it is. I mean, it's behind gates and fences. And-
Oh, that one. I thought you meant, never mind.
No, right by, just
Yeah,
the
you're
side of
talking-
the lake.
Okay, I thought you meant the other one.
No.
Yeah, that one's pretty good.
you know, if we hadn't ended up spending $750 with the appraisal and storage, and we make our money back, we could probably think about maybe $750. And if we get to the point where we're going to exceed that, we'd have to come back and ask for
Right.
some more funds. But
Plus the appraisal cost.
Well, Hovey quoted me 300.
Yeah.
So
300, but then again, if we can ask, and I think I mentioned it to you. when
Yeah,
we-
I just
when
didn't
we
know.
Let Dr. Hill know, we can let him know tomorrow and ask him to reach out to his son's friend if he'll appraise the vehicle and give us an official appraisal.
For free.
And what he charges. So
Yeah.
Can't we
Yeah.
just say a maximum amount for storage and appraisal?
What's what I'm saying, $750. And I thought, I heard you say that Dr. Hill already had $38,000 invested in this thing.
he told me that's how much he's put into it over time, yes.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's-
And he understands that he's not going to get that back.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I move that we accept the vehicle and approve a cost not to exceed $750 to cover storage and appraisal fee.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion from Alderman Tremblay and a second for...
If I can,
Yes.
we may need to have that car towed here. I don't know that we can drive the vehicle here. I don't know if it's currently registered. Do you know that?
I do not know that. I would...
Yeah, it's one of the-
So we may need to,
I have
maybe
the-
another cost incurred.
I have a copy of the title and-
Here.
You do have a copy of the title? That doesn't talk about the registration.
No, it
It's just the
doesn't.
title.
I mean, looking at the plate that's on it, it's,
I mean, if it's drivable, we could always follow the marshal back home.
Marshall, how do we get that vehicle here? Does it have to be,
Better tow it.
we have to tow it?
I mean, has anybody had the time to go look at the vehicle personally?
Yes, but I did not look at inspection and licensing. So we would need probably a
I mean,
roll-off.
The appearance of the vehicle it's perfect. I mean,
We don't even have
but I
insurance.
did not start the car.
No, and he did start it, it runs very well, but because it sits for long periods of time, you have a problem with the battery. So-
But it's just something we may need to address. This we may have to have it.
Because we don't have
Put on a
insurance to
flatbed
drive it
and
on the
run.
road, do we?
We wouldn't.
No.
So we'd have to tow it.
We would have to tow it. So we could probably work with Texas Towing. I think Texas Towing offers free towing for the city.
Right, and it's our vehicle, so it's Texas Towing. So let's stick with
So
the
there you
same.
go.
I'll stick with the same
Okay.
initial motion.
Okay, so we have a motion by Alderman Tremblay and a second by Alderman Rapino to accept the donation of the vehicle from Dr. Hill with a stipulation of not to exceed amount of $750 for storage and appraisal. All in favor say aye.
All right.
All opposed? Motion carries. I'll give Dr. Hill a call in the morning and let him know. Item 6E, discuss and or possible action on the purchase of a cordless headset for the city clerk's desk phone. She definitely needs this. As the court has been going on, we're learning things that we need to do a little bit differently. So, plus this allows her to be mobile. I call a few times and she's on the other side of the building and has
Not
to
that
run.
that's far, but by the time I get over there, you hang up.
I know. And this particular model will work with our phone set that's here?
Yeah, because the phone, I think, is a Yealink.
Okay.
And I tried checking with Verizon to see if they had a different price, but he said they had none in stock.
They had none in stock.
Yeah, but anything that, Yealink, I could get, from anywhere and it would be compatible with it.
Okay. And this pricing came from where? Is this Amazon?
Amazon.
Okay.
Mhm.
So the price is $215 and free shipping.
This was as of one day last week. I don't know.
That's what I said, I don't see that on there. Okay.
I know.
Okay, are there any questions on that one? Okay. Can we get a motion on that?
I'll move that we purchase a wireless headset for the city clerk, for not more than $220.
No.
City clerk.
City clerk. Okay, we have a motion by Alderman Rapino to approve the purchase of the cordless headset for the city clerk, not to exceed $220.
A second.
Alderman Walker seconds. All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? The motion carries. Item 6F, discuss and or possible action on a city fiesta medal. So I was having a conversation with Ken Roberts several months ago about this, and I had a conversation with now Alderman Walker before she was in the position about doing this as well. I think it would be nice to have a fiesta medal representing our city. I know as during Fiesta and during a lot of the events that go on with different cities, they have Fiesta medals that they do every year. So one of the things that I was considering was to have a contest to design a medal. And we would open it up to residents here in Sandy Oaks, and the winning design would win a monetary amount if we could do that, let's say $100. One of the caveats that I learned yesterday from a gentleman who was Ray Feo at one time, he says, let me tell you what you need to watch out for. Don't just open it up for design, because then the cost of that design can be pretty exorbitant, size-wise and everything else. So they have some templates, you know, like stay within these lines kind of thing. I had a conversation with their recommended source for that, and just to get an idea on what the price is. If we went real fancy schmancy with lots of cutouts and glitter and all this stuff, they could be as high as $4 each at a cost. But if we went with something very simple, it could be $2 a piece. So the thought was to make an initial purchase of the approved design and then sell those. And medals are typically $10 is usually what everybody sells, that sells them for. And probably allocate a certain percentage of those medals for commemorative to guests or different people, committee members, council members, those type things. And then sell the remainder, and the proceeds from that would be used to set up a scholarship fund that we could determine whether it be a student or perhaps two students that would be moving on to college. It would go to a senior, a graduating senior, or two seniors, and they would be eligible for, the money would be used for, say, fees and books, those incidental type things. I don't know initially how much money would be generated from that, so if this works and we want to continue it, then we can further define that. But it would be available whether they're going in a vocational discipline or going with their traditional education, college level education. So the city would have to fund the original amount of money to make the purchase of those medals. What I did is I sent her, she said a lot of places what they do is they'll do a simple, it's a photo, I think, overlay, and that's the least expensive and the quickest turnaround. And the other unknown that we don't know at this moment, because 90+% of all medals are made in China. And we don't know what the impact of the tariff is going to be on Fiesta medals this year. But the one that does the photo overlay is here in the United States, and that would be the one that would be $2 for each medal.
Once we accepted the design from whoever won, would we then have to copyright it? And would that be an additional cost?
I don't think so, because it's going to be specific to our city. It would have Sandy Oaks on
I
it.
think to
Somebody
enter the
else could.
contest, he would, if there were any copyrights, then
They
it
would,
would be
yeah, they would have to sign
released to
a
the
release.
city if that were.
But isn't there a local company? I remember seeing either a newspaper or something on TV.
there's lots of
and
companies here that do
there's a
this.
local company that did them, that would even do your design. But I would like to see, let's just stick with if you're going to do this on a regular basis, the first year just use their city logo.
Right, and that's what I sent to them.
Not really put it out for a design competition or anything, to use the original City Oaks logo,
Right,
yellow, green. I mean, it's
right.
pretty simple. And then
But we would want to, and she said they would do something, I gathered it's kind of like a bezel that would go around that, and that would say like Fiesta and
Right.
the year and stuff like that.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's what I would suggest,
Okay.
is just utilizing our city logo as it is, and just adding the Fiesta San Antonio, San Antonio, City of Sandy Oaks, and you put the year or something like that. But like I say, a local company, I don't know the name of it, but I did see it. I think if we, enough ability to find a company.
Monarch is one, there's several here in town that will do that. But again, even though Monarch does some here, the bulk of the metals that are produced are done out of China. They take the designs, they send them over there. So again, the tariff issue is we don't know what kind of cost that's gonna add to them this year. So my thought was go with the other option, which was cheaper and quicker and made in the USA for the first go-round and just kind of see how it works. And at $2 a piece, I mean, I don't know how many we would want to buy. If we did, let's say we did 500, that would be $1,000 to invest in that. And then if we sell, let's say we set aside 10% of that. So that's $450 that would be available at the $10. So that could potentially generate a significant amount of money for some scholarships. Would we need to have a committee or some group that kind of oversees that effort?
It can just be the council.
The council could do that? Okay.
Would there be an application process for the scholarship later on? Would
yeah.
create an
Yes.
application process?
Does any of the money that we sell them for go back to help pay for them?
Yes. So the proceeds would be the amount that is collected less the cost. And that's what would be distributed. And, maybe, if 500 is not enough, we do more, or we just do 500 the first year and see how it goes.
Is there an option of going back and ordering more, or usually not?
As you get closer to Fiesta, that's a little bit more
Harder.
challenging.
Yeah.
But I'm certain that it can be done. What she told me this morning was that it's about a week turnaround for the ones that are done here in the U.S. Now, that's about, this time frame. But again,
Yeah.
as we get closer, it does get probably a
Tighter.
little bit more challenging.
So then we'd go ahead and use the city logo and have them just put the rest.
The Fiesta and the year on it. And we could use that as our first one.
Okay.
I guess we would get an option of choosing the ribbon colors, and we probably would want to do something that would complement the colors and the logo. I don't know that that's as big of a decision. We'll see what they have to say about that.
So do you want a motion on this?
Yes, please.
I'd make a move that we approve moving forward with a city Fiesta medal utilizing our city logo and authorizing a cost not to exceed $1,000 for the initial order, and authorize the mayor to initiate a contract for the sale with the company.
Okay. So however many I can get for $1,000.
1,000, yeah, let's
Okay.
go with that.
Okay. So we have a motion by Alderman Tremblay to approve a city Fiesta medal using our city logo and not to exceed $1,000, and authorize the mayor to approve the quote with the vendor. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second by Alderman Rapino. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Okay, we're going to move on to item 7A, City Marshal. Discuss and or possible action on a resolution providing an exemption from the inscription requirement for certain municipal vehicles operated by the City Marshal.
I didn't know we
So,
did this.
I'm sorry?
I said, I didn't know what we would,
Well,
I was
the local
surprised.
transportation code, or is it local government code or transportation? It is transportation code, yes. So this particular ordinance allows for the, how do you want to call, what do you want to call it? It's the signage on the vehicle.
Unmarked.
The holograms.
Thank you, that's the word, yes. And so when we were approving the bid to purchase for all of the equipment to outfit the Impala, that was all approved by council anyway, but there is an ordinance that actually needs to be in place for that as well. So that's what this is for.
Is that an ordinance or a resolution?
I'm sorry, it's a resolution. Sorry. And the transportation code, it allows for certain vehicles to be exempt that are owned by a municipality from the inscription requirement if those vehicles are used by a police department, municipal fire marshal, arson investigator, code enforcement officer designated to enforce environmental or criminal laws, or a municipal employee conducting an investigation involving fraud and other mismanagement within the municipality. So this is really just a formality.
Too many rules.
Okay, I'll move that we accept the resolution 2019-104 to exempt from inscription for certain municipal vehicles operated by the city marshal.
Okay, we have a motion by Alderman Rapino to accept the resolution, which is numbered 2019-104.
I'll second.
We have a second by Alderman Tremblay. All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries.
Here.
Okay, blue pen. You want your pen, Master?
You can, not until you sign those others.
Okay, item 7B, discuss under possible action on the installation of printers in both Marshall's vehicles and the related cost. And that's from Industrial Communications, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And this is going to cover B, C, and D because they did combine all of the quotes together.
Well, so,
Kind of.
Cassandra, they've broken it out on the quote, but the overall quote addresses 3 different items here. So should we approve each of these individually, these items, or can we combine these?
You can combine.
The agenda items. Okay. So this item will combine items 7B, 7C, and 7D. And I'll go ahead and read through all of them. C is to discuss under possible action on the installation of an inverter in both of the Marshall's vehicles and related cost. And D is discuss under possible action on the installation of a mobile radio in the Impala and related cost. And the total cost, well, by vehicle, let's see which one. The Impala is $452.31, and the Ford Expedition is $407.81. So the power inverter is to run the printer and the laptop, is that correct?
This one.
Okay. And they have to be hardwired in there. This includes the power inverter. It also includes the power supply for the Toughbook, and it includes installation of the actual printers. And apparently the printer also has a power inverter? 2 of them? The printer and the laptop? Okay.
Jeez.
Just for clarification, without these inverters, what it would do is that it drains the battery.
Right.
It just converts it to-
Right. And if I'm not mistaken, this is the last thing that we have to do on those vehicles to be ready to go, right? Okay.
Except for 7E.
Yes, we will talk about that one. Oh, no, we'll talk about that in a moment. So the total cost on this is going to be just under $1,000 to do both of these vehicles and get them set up. When are they programming those laptops? Next week?
They should be programming tomorrow.
Tomorrow, okay. And
Before 1?
Pardon?
Before 1?
And I heard your radio, so I understand we have radios now. So,
So I see a, I call it 860, 12 cents per vote.
do
860.
you want to do a not to exceed number?
Not to exceed, move to approve items 7, B, C, and D for costs not to exceed $875.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion by Alderman Tremblay and a second by Alderman Rapino to approve items 7B, C, and D as a single action not to exceed $875. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right.
Opposed? The motion carries. I'm going to pull item 7E. There is no cost on that. Item 8, municipal court. Discuss and or possible action on approving a quote from NetData for the annual cost of an iTicket application. So, we're doing two separate ones. Okay, so the NetData piece is for the court software. And this is, we're going to talk about two different items here, A and B, but they're related. One is a push from the marshal's laptops of
Cop.
ticket information from the what's it called?
CopSync.
CopSync. On the court side of the equation, that's the pull piece. So that's what we're talking about here, where they import the data. And there's a couple of reasons why it's important that we do this. One is it reduces human error because currently he's manually writing tickets and the court clerk is manually typing in the data into the system. There are potential errors that could occur with that. The second piece of it is just the sheer volume. He's been very busy, and it takes a lot of manpower just to make sure that the data is entered correctly. So the first piece of this is the iTicket application through NetData, and it's an annual maintenance and support, data storage and backup, and it would be $1,000 per year. So it would be added on to the existing costs that we're paying for NetData already that have been approved. Did anyone have any questions on how that would work?
It just so we're still have money left in the budget, in the marshal's budget for supplies.
We do, yes.
Equipment, so we have
do.
the funds to cover this, and this is something that was anticipated regardless. We knew we were going to have to do all of this, so.
Yeah. Yeah, again, this whole from the ground up has been a learning experience.
Right, and it's keeping with technology and automation. so
Exactly.
We're not doing things the country way.
No,
So you need a motion for that?
I do, sir.
I move that we approve not more than $1,000 per year for the NetData iTicket application.
Okay, we have a motion by Alderman Rapino to approve the iTicket application not to exceed $1,000 per year. Do we have a second?
A second.
Alderman Walker seconds. All in favor, say aye.
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 All right?
Opposed? The motion carries.
You know, I just have a question regarding that for the future. These annual costs that we keep bringing up and we're funding this year, all these items will be taken into consideration for next year's budget.
Yes,
So
sir.
that we're not coming back to the table.
No.
You don't come back to the table next year and having to approve this yearly. It's anticipated, it's a needs to be done item.
Yes.
And it'll be included in his budget.
Yes. And, well, this part will be in the court budget, because this is the court side of it. But yes, even all the other net data applications that we approved, we've already identified what the annual costs are, so we don't need to keep bringing that one back.
Good, just wanted to clarify. Thank you.
Okay, moving on to item 8B, discuss and or possible action on approving a quote from CoLogic for court management integration software. So this is the push side of it from the marshal's office, and it pushes the citation data into the net data side of the equation. And what we have here is a 4-year, they've lined out what the cost would be for each of the next 4 years. So the first year, there is an additional $600. The total is $1,800. $600 of that is related to the actual integration, the setup, and getting it functional. But then every year after that, including the first year, it's $1,200 for the annual maintenance, and then years 2, 3, 4, and at least through year 4, it's $1,200. So the first year it's $1,800, and then $1,200 in the subsequent years. And this would be installed on your Tough Books, is that correct?
No, this goes to the court.
No. Where is it installed? It's in your CopSync, which is on your Tough Books, correct?
Yes, the system's already installed the system's going to be installed once I get them programmed. And then what it does, it pushes it out to, once that ticket is written, then it's transferred to that data side, and then it
Right.
computes it out.
Okay.
So this is for your side of the house, or is this for the court?
It's for him to push to the court.
Yes.
Talk to each other,
Yes.
pretty much, okay.
There is a notation on here. It says court management integration qualifies for expenditures from the Justice Court Technology Fund. So if you remember when we talked about the municipal court when we were setting it up, each case generates a list of fees. You know, it's $1 here. There were like a dozen. This Justice Court Technology Fund, that's where that could be coming from, is that money that's collected through the court process. Okay. Any other questions? Then would someone like to make a motion?
Well, I move that we accept the court management integration net data for 1,800.
Not net data.
No, it's-
CoLogic.
This
No.
CoLogic.
8B.
I'm looking at the invoice.
It's this.
Okay, CoLogic
Right.
for not more than $1,800 for the first year.
Okay. Okay, we have a motion by Alderman Rapino to approve the quote from CoLogic for the court management integration software for year 1 of $1,800.
I second.
And Alderman Walker seconds. All in favor say aye.
Okay.
Opposed? All right, the motion carries. And we will adjourn at 7:47 p.m.
It's 9:00.
We are.
I'm gonna have some marketing